The world can seem upside down at times, which has set me on a journey in search for love, truth, and ultimately personal freedom. I'm on a mission to help people find peace and healing so that each of us as individuals and ultimately the collective can be free from whatever keeps us stuck and skews our view of just how beautiful this life can be. Welcome to the Lucas Mack Show. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to another episode of the Lucas Mack Show. I am Lucas Mack. Thank you for joining me. I'm sending you love and blessings as we transition from one year to the next. So much is happening, and I hope that you're finding peace. I hope that you are finding presence and feeling grounded and really getting to learn yourself so that you can love yourself more deeply. That's been my journey. And so honored to have you back on the podcast and join me because I have a great guest and episode today, Micah Johnson. This is a brother that when he and I met, I've never had this experience with anyone else. He started to talk about things that were deep and personal that he hadn't shared with someone. And we were talking about the stuff and it mirrored exactly myself, things that I thought were unique to me. And so we have built this really cool friendship. We're going to be doing some work together. How to be a good human tour is going to kick off late in 2025. And there's just so much cool things happening. So I'm really honored to have Micah on the podcast. He's a speaker. He's a coach. He's a soon to be author, and he's just a deep, deep thinker. And this episode is really beautiful as we talk about his journey and where we've landed today. So brother Micah, thank you for coming on the podcast, and everyone enjoy. Awesome. Brothers and sisters, like I shared in the intro, I'm so honored to bring on my brother, Micah Johnson. And, you know, brother, when we first connected, it was one of those one in a lifetime, one of these like, wait, you too? Wait, what? We started having just the most incredible conversations. And I'm so thankful for you. And I'm really happy to have you on the podcast, brother.
Me too, man. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, that first conversation was quite something. It showed us we could be onto something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You know, you have a really fascinating background and story and your journey. And, you know, I would love for you to share, you know, your background and how you've gotten to where you are today so we can start talking about who you are today and what you're up to.
Yeah.
But, you know, why don't you walk through this really fascinating upbringing that you had?
Absolutely. So I'll kick it off in 2016. That was when I started to realize maybe something is a little bit unique about my experience here, that stuff may not add up the way I thought it did, that it was just going through these moments of just major life realizations. And it led me to understand that when I was 2 years old, my parents moved and joined a Y2K cult, founding members of it. Now, it wasn't anything like cult's kind of a weird word that people get kind of jumpy about. It wasn't, you can read about some really, really rough ones. There was no like physical nature to it. It was just crazy beliefs. And what they believed was the bottom half of Florida was going to break off and go into the ocean in the year 2000. And we lived in Tampa then. So Tampa was below the cut line. So yeah, Tampa was below the line of what was supposed to break off, according to this elderly woman. I mean, like elderly.
Wow.
And so my parents and about, I think it was 4 other small families all just moved to the middle of nowhere in Florida, a little area called in Suwannee County. So just a bunch of woods, a bunch like tiny, tiny towns. And this area was safe. So they went about, now we're going to live here. And they had this survival shelter. I remember there's this picture of me when I'm like 3, but what you can't see is all these like thousands of buckets of food in the room of like what they thought would happen. We're talking about 1990, 1991. I'm way before it was ever supposed to happen. They were getting into this prep phase. And in the mid 90s, she died. The lady passed away, and in that world, once that happens, two things happen. Two people go for leadership, everybody splits apart. It's just what I've seen over and over and over again. And we got folded into my parents then joined a Pentecostal church, which from my point of view, they taught like the same stuff. They believed the world was going to end too. They just didn't put a weird date on it and say how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. But it was a lot of the same, really angry, really, you're broken.
Yeah.
And that's the part I started to really realize was affecting me in my life, is this deep-seated belief that I'm just broken, completely broken. I can't be fixed. The only thing that'll fix me is this thing that they're telling me. And when you hear it from, like, when you're just raised that way, it took me a long time to think outside of that box. That's what 2016 really did was, and we've talked about this before, the most powerful moment in my life was when I decided to stop being angry. And I'd been trained to be angry. Anger, righteous indignation was like the pet emotion of everything I grew up with. And if you had a right to be angry, then you got to be angry and everyone was okay with it. So it was like always looking for this right to be angry. I have a right to this, a right to this. And finally I realized, who cares? Who cares? Even if that story's true, I don't have to beat myself up or other people with it.
Yeah.
And so 10 years, well, let's jump back to year 2000. All right. So we went to 88, then we moved. In the year 2000, my dad, he left the belief system, left my mom. And the way he did it, he taught me to shun people like him, right? That was this very hard, like, dichotomy to deal with of how do I interact with you, but you taught me not to talk to you for the thing that you did. This is a really bizarre experience I'm having right now. And that was what culminated in that when I was finally ready to just stop being angry. Like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I don't want to feel this way. And began letting that go and really started to dive deep on how far did this really make it into me? Because I was angry always. It was my motivator. I used it to go into action. When I realized these things, I had sold a little over 100 houses in real estate. I was doing better than I'd ever done in life. I was actually trying to play golf on the PGA Tour. I was living this thing I never thought I'd get to experience. I actually wrote something about this morning, but I was doing it all from the outside in. I was doing these things where when I didn't make it, because the way I was trying to do it, you can't just push your chips all in all the time. That doesn't work. You will lose eventually. I just didn't know another way. But when it happened and I had been doing some intentional personal development, I didn't fall apart like I did the last time it happened, when this went through a really hard thing, but held those ideas. So this like 4-year difference, I was able to see like, holy cow, hold on a second. This is different. The version of you that's experiencing this is not the same one. And they're not making the self-destructive choices you used to make literally just by not being angry. Obviously it's more to that in depth, but that had a huge factor in there of just how much it wrecks your life. Like when you're just angry all the time. There's a quote, people love a happy soldier. I love that quote where it's fine to fight for something, but the way you do it is really, really, really important. And I experienced that now that I reflect, after reflecting and doing a lot of research on my family, where we came from, why we ended up where we ended up, just all the little things that need to add up. As a sales guy, how you sell something's everything. It really, really is, especially to yourself. And that was that breaking moment of, I'm no longer going to buy this story. I'm telling me what is a different one. What else is available?
Right.
Which is way more than one story, by the way. Like the fact is we all have many, many stories, all of which are mostly true based on how memory works. However, depending on which one you're using to tell yourself about life in that particular moment, it's everything. It's everything, because it's either creating what you want or destroying you, like one or the other. It's one of the few spots in life where you truly interact with the dichotomy, right? These weird moments where it's one or the other. There is no gray zone anymore. It is now you're either helping you or hurting you.
That's right. Man, there's so much just to affirm that in using our background. The Bible says in Proverbs, it says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those that
Mm,
love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Like you're saying, you're either going to tell the story that adds life into yourself, or you're going to tell the story that keeps the perpetuation of death in this um, victim cycle. And it was so wild about, and just everyone listening, this is one of the wild things that Mike and I have connected on. His life changed in 2016. My life radically changed in 2016. That's when I had flashbacks and started like, wait, what is going on? And woke up to like, what family am I in? What system is this all? What's really
mm,
going in? How did all this happen? Why I felt like I was like a mind controlled uh, drone and that just woke
mm,
up and like, what has all this been? And then, of course, I carried all the shame and the guilt and you had anger, I had fear.
mm.
And maybe fear was that I couldn't even access my anger. And I've like,
Yeah,
but 2016 was wild that it woke you. We both had these awakenings, and then we have so many similarities too. It's
yeah.
very fascinating to hear that. And I want you to unpack more when you're saying that your dad became the person he taught you to, what did you say? Not hate, but
Not be shun.
yeah,
He
shun,
became,
shun.
yeah,
Because why? Because they're wayward or backsliders or new
yeah,
age or satanic,
yeah.
satanic.
He,
Like unpack that narrative
yeah,
because I think so many people are afraid to break free because of the conditioning of that's new age, that's satanic, that's demonic, that's backslidden or whatever. Unpack
yeah.
that for me.
Yeah, so what he did is he had an affair on my mom, which I dug in deep on that too. Like you gotta, when you go looking into your life, don't do it with a judgment lens.
Mm,
Do it to see why did it happen? What caused that? What about his life? Like I've studied them too way long ago just to understand. And so he had an affair and left. But the reason why was he just couldn't take this angry God anymore after we've talked about it for years. So, but what he did when he did it, when he left that way, there's a verse in Second Timothy that says, "Turn them over to the devil, and they will return in the end." And this is my brother, a lot of other people in our close circle. This is what we did because it's what we thought we were supposed to do. Like truly, just follow this book and then eliminate him. And unless he comes back in these really the narrow gate,
yeah, repent
have
and
anything to
be
do. You
Christian.
have to
Yeah,
literally return back to this thing that you were, or we can't be with you. Right. That's what took place there.
yeah.
After having many conversations with my dad about that, again, going back into his life, the only reason, so here's a little trick in life for everybody listening. Be very, very watchful when two hard things hit close by in your life. We
Hmm.
just never sure when stuff's going to happen. But what happened in my family is my grandfather, which is my dad's dad, passed away. He was 54, I think, but he was the anchor.
Hmm.
Everything happened at his house, my dad's house. Like my grandma still lives in the house he grew up in,
Wow.
and that my grandfather built. So when he died, there was like four sisters that quit coming around. There was all these things, like the family just boom, and no one knew where to go. And then my parents lost their house to an adjustable rate mortgage when this couple year time period. And in that, now you are going to seek relief. So that's what they found. I have this valve out of here. I can escape all this. It's also what I should do because I added in this belief that Florida's breaking in half.
Yeah.
And now I get free life. I get this thing. I don't have to deal with anything. I can just go be this brand new person somewhere else. Yeah, don't do that. That's a rough scenario, but that's truly what happened. Was And he was in his early 20s. Like when I looked at my early 20s, I was sleeping on people's couches.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
wasn't really much better
Yeah.
than what they did. And it gave me a really good understanding of why you picked this,
Hmm.
why you went down this road, which was pivotal to letting go of being angry. I
Hmm.
can't blame you for something that you really didn't even understand was happening at the time. You'd never seen it. You'd never the filters you were using to tell yourself the story, you didn't know they weren't right then.
Hmm.
So Okay, it's unfortunate. I'm bummed about it. However, I got to grow up in the middle of the woods. Like I love to be outside. I'm an outdoor person and I just literally could walk. I would leave my house at daylight, not come home till dark and
Mm,
just wander in the woods with me and my little BB gun. Just let's go, man. Let's
love it.
my friends would come over and it was this beautiful experience. So it was that's why I say it wasn't one of your typical cold experiences. There was no schedule. You had to go to church all the time, but it wasn't like this really regimented life. It
Yeah.
was just what we did in secret and on Sundays, right? Like
Mm,
really the outside world would not have known we were holding on to that belief. They didn't really show it,
right.
which was again, as digging through it throughout life, like, oh, okay, I see why that was there, and this dot connects here, and oh, interesting. Like just putting together this story.
Were you
Um,
taught not to talk about it? Because was there this idea that people want to understand it?
I didn't know as kids, they didn't tell us that part. We
Mm,
didn't know why we were all in this room and all these buckets were there. I had to go find it out later. So in what year is this? Let me think. In this was recent, man. 2021 maybe.
mm,
I was in my I was with my dad. I was staying at my dad's house and he still lives where all this stuff happened. He's still in that area. However, he's very good friends with one of the ladies who was a part of it. She was one of the founding families and I got to go to her house and ask her questions.
wow.
And she's who told me. She's like, this is what it was. I did not want to come here. I voted against this.
Wow.
I was literally came over here against my will with these small people because I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. And I'm like, why didn't any what? Like that would have been super helpful to know. Like
Yeah.
way back in the day, like this thing. And that's what I'm saying. It's almost as if they were ashamed of it too, especially after the lady died. Because one thing is, you can't tell yourself the world's going to end in the year 2000 and it not end. Guess what year my dad left? 2000.
Mm,
Every family that was a part of that is shattered.
yeah. Yeah.
There's, I mean, rough shape in life. And I look back and it's like, well, it makes sense because of the what you were believing. And if you haven't adjusted any of those beliefs yet, it
Yeah.
is destroying you.
Right.
You are maybe the world's not ending and Florida's not breaking off, but all the other stuff that got piled on top of it, you're not good.
Sure. And it's probably confusing. See, I've been wrestling with this even this morning. I'm sure there's well, if God's real, why didn't God tell me? Or if, then is any of this, is faith real? Is the Bible real? Is any of it true? What's the point? How could I be led astray with an intention to not be led astray? And where's truth? And I thought the Holy Spirit, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty, but I was not in liberty. And all of a sudden I'm broken out and there's all this deconstruction. I think rightly so. And also probably a question of like, well, then is any of it real? Is anything true? And then without the emotional intelligence and someone to say, I don't know, maybe someone to say nothing, but just someone to hold space for them to let it all out and air
Yeah.
out the deconstruction of it all. Yeah, it's dark. It's darkness
It is.
because and truly, you know, the Proverbs also says where there's a lack of hope, the people perish. Oh no, it's hope deferred makes a heart sick. Hope deferred
Yeah.
makes so if you've lost your hope in something, dude, you're gonna have a sick heart. And
Yeah.
sadly, maybe we've been taught to place our hope in a false reality, even if it is a fringe. And this is the thing I'm wrestling with right now is this whole there's so many people in the personal development space that are very influential, that are friends with us, that are returning back to Jesus and like getting saved and having this experience. And I'm like the opposite of that. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to, not that I'm anti-Jesus, it's just I don't I came from that world so deeply, and then they're returning and I'm leaving. And it's like so strange, but it's
It is.
also um I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it other than just observe that I understand when people leave that with it's becomes disillusioning of everything. And
Yeah.
yet, how could God allow it in the first place if people's good intentions were to honor God? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Well, it makes you question. We've been told this Christianity story for about 1700 years now.
Mm.
Like we're into it from, and was it 300 AD when it became the official religion of Rome? And
Yeah.
that's when you start to see the earliest manuscripts of the Bible written down. Like even what, like Jesus never wrote anything down.
Right.
He drew in the dirt, maybe.
Yeah.
Is the only story we're told of him actually writing something down.
Yeah.
And that's, so I spent my I wasn't just in these beliefs. I perpetuated them, right? I'm the person that I am. I am highly driven. I want to make an impact. I want to, and I had this tool
Because
that
you're
I
a
thought I was
projector. You're a
yeah, I had
projector.
this tool that I thought I was supposed to use. Like I preached my first sermon in church. I think it was 7, maybe 8, and it
Wow.
was on that verse in Proverbs, and the sermon was called "Keep That Tongue in Its Cage," which is
Mm,
mind blowing to me that I think about it now.
wow.
But went from there to the last I've been in almost every version of Christianity that's not Catholicism, right? We were taught Catholics aren't Christians, can't
Yep.
associate with them, whole
Yep.
different thing.
Yep.
But I've been I was in Southern Baptist, I've been Pentecostal, I've been Methodist, I've
Mhm.
been the last one I was in is called Reformed Evangelicalism, which
Yep.
takes a super literal look at
Yes.
the Bible. The
Yep.
one thing I liked about it is it made me start learning the Bible in Greek. I started to study in original languages, like realizing, wait a second, Greek words sometimes have 8 different tenses. How did they choose that one? Why did they choose that one?
Yep.
Wait. Like we're making judgments on people basing what we know now, and you can't do that when you're working with the past. You can
Yes.
only use the information they had then, which made me realize this book is talking about a time period where every doctor was a witch doctor. We did not know anything about planets.
Right. It was all shamanism.
It
And
was
the witch
all
hunt was all
shamanism.
shaman. Yes.
Women had to live outside the village on their periods still. Like
Yes. Yeah.
the version of life we are talking about, which really made me start to study Jesus. Okay, wait a second. Who is this guy? Who, if he was real, who was he really? Because if I don't buy into the part that he was trying to be God, which I don't buy into that part, the way we said it,
Yeah.
right? There's a key phrasing, like how we use words, very
Yep.
important, especially English, because we got the same word for everything. What he was doing, if the history of his life was correct, then he would have been in Alexandria, Egypt between ages 0 and 12.
Hmm.
Alexandria, Egypt would have had the largest library in the world at the
Secret
time, where
mystery
he
school
would
is
have
there.
been
Yes.
exposed to
Yes.
everything, Buddhism,
Right.
Middle East, other
Yep.
religions, like so much he would have
Yep.
seen. Where one of my favorite daily readers is the
And he
Tao Te
must have if they marveled at his knowledge as a
Ching.
12. So, I mean, to affirm what you're saying on this logic, yes, it wasn't, he must have been taught it clearly.
Yep. He
Yeah.
had to go learn it. And I think he had the desire to learn it because I did. I
Yep.
was fascinated by this stuff. Like I said, I
Yep.
didn't just believe it, I converted people to it. Like I
Yeah.
was good at it, man. Like I really believed it.
Yeah.
And like quick side note, like one of my favorite things to read is the Tao Te Ching. It's just a book that's 2,600 years old, telling 5,000-year-old stories,
Yep.
and Jesus quotes it constantly.
Mm.
In it, I've seen so many times, like, whoa, this, holy cow, that's exactly what he was talking about. He
Mm.
had to have read this. He had to have seen this book before. It just
Mm.
doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have. And
Right.
it says so close to the same thing. So that's where thinking about Jesus, I landed on, I heard this quote a long time ago when I was first coming out of religion, or organized religion, which was, oh, fuck, it just went away.
I think that's
Oh,
the quote. Oh,
yeah,
fuck it.
it just went away.
Organized religion.
Yeah, that was the first line. The second was, it was this guy talking about when you read the Bible, read it until the magic starts, and then start understanding, like really dig into what they would have been saying,
Mhm.
which that was profound to me because it led me to like people's favorite miracle to talk about with Jesus besides the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, which is the blind guy that he heals, where he spits in the mud or spits in the dirt, makes mud and rubs it on his eyes.
Mhm.
And I asked people, what were the disciple or what question did the disciples ask Jesus right before that story happened? And most people say, I don't know. And the question the disciple asked was, Jesus, what did that boy's parents do to be born blind? And all of a sudden it just hit me. Oh my God, that's right. We're in the year 0 AD. If you had any sort of affliction, epileptics were demon possessed. If you had anything, your parents upset the deity.
Mm,
Always.
mm,
And the most radical thing Jesus could have said then was, oh, they didn't do nothing.
mm,
He was just born blind. That statement is, dude, it's huge. Like
mm,
we're just used to it now that we don't really realize how all 12 of those guys with him would have been like, wait, what?
mm,
What did you just say?
mm.
Hold on. Because now look at society. We don't cast out blind people and do all these things. We realize that wasn't their fault.
Right.
So how do we actually help them? That was Jesus's whole message. Hey, it wasn't their fault. Let's help him. The
Right.
essence of healing his eyes was returning him to society. Do
Mm,
not shun this man. Help this man.
mm.
He's not broken. He just can't see. We only have occupations that involve eyes around here, and y'all think he's cursed by God. Knock it off.
Right.
Like, knock it off. It's not helpful to anybody. So
Mm,
that was like this really profound moment with me thinking about Jesus. And I realized I love Jesus more now than I ever did when I thought he was God.
yeah.
Ever. He was this fascinating person
Yeah.
that, man, to do what you did when you did it, courage, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Courage.
Holy cow.
Courage.
Massive amounts. You
Yes.
didn't have rights. You
Right.
didn't have anything. Submit or die. That
Yep.
was your edict.
Yep. That's right. That's right. And he still went into the temple and he still called them out. And he still, yeah, it's
Still
incredible.
did it.
It's incredible.
He still did it to the point where enough people saw what he was saying. And the only reason they didn't, this is my, who knows if this is true, but I call it Jesus' great miscalculation.
Mm,
And if there is some historicity behind a governor named Pontius Pilate
mm,
that did release people, and there was this custom on this certain day where they would let a prisoner go in that area. Because one thing Rome had learned by then, don't break the main religion. Like
mm.
if we break the main religion, people fight back like crazy. Like they
Yeah.
will die. Like
Yeah.
it was kill or be killed. But if I leave the main one in place, people don't freak out so much. We just do these other things. And so you start seeing this trend. And so my theory is this: Jesus banked on getting voted out.
Mm.
He banked on the crowd saying, Jesus, we picked Jesus. And when they said Barabbas, he said, fuck.
I
He
made
just-
a huge mistake.
I thought they had bigger balls than that, or whatever it was at the time, because like he had all these people. If the crowds they say he had were real, he would have had this massive following. And in the story, we get these breaks in time where we don't really know what happened during that time. But how else to quell a movement? You kill its leader. Like, it's what you do. That's how that works. And especially during that time period was, oh, you're rising up. You want to start a new religion? Cool. There's only one. You're dead. Now
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there we go.
To your point, it's interesting of after the leader dies, the two succeeding leaders that are vying for that one spot, you also have Peter and Paul not being the original group then supersedes Peter, and Peter had a different view. And then we see modern day Christianity being based off Pauline epistles that never talk about Jesus's life, never talk about the miracles, really never even talk about his message, never quotes Jesus. This is where I'm at right now. Like, wait, was Paul the Roman psyop to co-opt Peter and the original 12 who actually sat with Jesus those many years and knew what he was saying? And then you have this usurper take religion down to it's better that you're not married, but since you're such lustful losers, why don't you get married? You know, like, wait, what?
Where did it happen? When did it get so angry?
What?
And that's when it gets angry.
Yeah.
After the four Gospels, the Bible gets angry.
Yeah,
It gets very upset. One thing I always thought was fascinating about Paul's story is when he's talking, I think it's the point where he's talking in the story, he's talking to Peter and he says, as one untimely born, I became an apostle. Now, apostle, that word is very specific. It means an eyewitness.
Yeah.
You saw him with your eyeballs.
Yes.
That's the it. If you don't see him, you don't get to be one. You don't get to use the term. You're violating language.
Yes.
In this time period, he describes it. He describes himself as being ripped from the womb via C-section to see Christ. That's a fascinating way to say that to me. That is what he meant by untimely born. Now I am here. And he did it in a time where you could not argue with it.
Hmm.
You did it in a space where you no one can say you didn't get knocked off your horse and now you're blind. No one can argue with you because we are in the year zero.
Right.
Right. Like nobody can. We can't.
Yeah.
It's literally this place where you just see a human taking advantage of a time and space, which every human does in all of our times and space. How are we taking advantage of our current where we are? Some people do it positively, some do it negatively.
Yeah.
Some, and maybe like in the end, who was I talking to? Was it you that said this thing about the villain? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hero is the villain in the villain's story.
Yes.
Like
Every
it
hero is
is
the villain in the villain story. Yes.
yeah, that is 100% true. Because who knows, man? Was it there literally just to curb this thing back towards rules? It's what it did.
Rome. Yeah. It made
Yeah,
it
Jesus had this
Roman.
freedom message,
Yes.
and all of a sudden it was 300 years later
Yep.
taken to say, oh, he said all this and he meant all this and it's all this. That don't line up to me.
Yeah.
That's the part that like, okay, now y'all just wrote a book.
Right.
Right. You just wrote a book and it worked. It
Yep.
worked. Y'all weren't like the people that did that weren't not good at what they were doing.
Hmm.
They were very good at taking over the world. They had done it.
Right.
Right. Like it was, and I think you and I talked about this before. Once you can't do it in a physical fashion anymore, I can't just go take over the world. Now it's mine.
Right. Right.
Now I go, the next territory is the real estate of the brain.
Yeah.
If I can take over that, now I got true power. Doesn't matter where I am anymore. Transcends time and space. As a real estate, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
Oh, it's just ADHD note. Like as a real estate person, I'm always blown away by the properties owned by the Catholic Church, like where they're located in the world. How like just
It's the wealthiest. It owns the world.
it's
I'll say
crazy.
Elon Musk is not the richest man in the world. This is what's the fallacy of the media. $400 billion is nothing to the families that actually own the earth. Trillionaires are who control the earth, not fiat system billionaires. Fiat system billionaires are still slave. Yes, do they live like free human beings? Absolutely. Do they influence the world? Yes, but they cannot do anything without the Vatican owned trillionaires that literally own the. How does this happen? How does the communist country of China, which the premise of communism is no religion because the state replaces religion and they give the authority of what is to be believed, allow a state church, and that state church just happens to be the Catholic Church in communist China.
Yeah,
That the Vatican owns the earth,
it's
and
fascinating.
trillionaire families own the land. I was blown away when I will never forget this, and it was the exact day I almost took my life for the second time when 2019 my wife asked me something that ripped my guts out, and I couldn't. Anyway, it was incredibly painful, and I have this experience. But once I I called my brother and got out of this dark place. I'm driving back home and I'm listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Kanye West. And Kanye West asks a question: how much does it cost? How much does it cost to buy planet Earth? And I had never thought about that because we think of real estate as homes and lots and acres. But here was a guy going, how much does the earth cost? Like, there's got to be a number for it. And I had never thought that big. But I did know that the trillionaires who actually own the earth think that big.
That big.
And so I'm only bringing that up is they always will bring it back to their rule, their game, their plots.
And it's unwinnable.
Yeah.
Like no outside contestant can win. And this is something I noticed in the moments where I was there was a 2 year space when I came out of religion where I got really quiet.
Mm,
And I wanted to sit because I started to feel angry again. And I was like, hold on. The whole point of this is not to feel angry.
yeah.
It's not to lash out at anybody. It's really to go understand. Just
Mm,
go understand what was taking place in your life. And that we mentioned this earlier, that's when it hit me that, whoa, one, I was a major converter of people to this. And something I noticed was it thrives on calamity. That whole chaos thing,
yeah.
it thrive. How many in the Christian world, it is a badge of honor to have a testimony.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, how bad can you have it and still come back? Because we love an underdog story. We just do. However, I just kept watching over and over. Like, it's just this like you have to be crushed. And as long as you're good and broken, we'll keep telling you you're broken, but this thing will make you better. Just stick with us here until you're dead. Right. And it was just like, whoa, okay. And then the reality that how destabilizing it is for people when you take that away.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I had to start realizing, okay, it's not my job to deconvert people either.
Right.
That's just as life altering. That's like when I was going through it, take away. I was actually I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos that he remade, episode one, Standing Up in the Milky Way. He mentions this guy named Giordano Bruno from the 13th or 14th century or 14th or 15th century. He had this dream. He was a Catholic monk. He had this dream that the everything was much bigger than we thought it was. The world, the universe was infinite. God was infinite. It's all much bigger than we're saying it is, everybody. And he went around telling everyone he was imprisoned. And ultimately, it was during the Spanish Inquisition, part of the Spanish and John Calvin and the founders of Reformed evangelicalism were responsible for putting him to death. And I was like, what?
Mhm.
Wait a second, what? And it gave me this little crack in this ceiling that I had. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson explained the light year. And
Mm,
all of a sudden, the world wasn't 6,000 years old anymore.
right.
And nothing I believed was true.
Mm,
And I was just like, I explained it in a talk I give. It felt like my tether had been cut from the spaceship and I was drifting off into space, but I had no desire to reattach that tether.
yeah. I completely get it. Yes.
And it's what made me realize I don't want to do either to anyone. I
Mm,
have no desire to convert people. None. You need to learn how to be good at being human. You need
yeah.
to learn how to be human on purpose.
Yes.
We all have that gift. I
Mm,
don't know what it's going to look like for you because I can't take up your time and space. We
right.
literally can't even stand in the same space at the same time. I can't look at a jar of mayonnaise the same spot. Like there's no way for you and I ever to experience anything the same way. So
Mm,
what am I supposed to convert you to? I
mm,
just want you to think like I think. No, I need you to think like you think. Here's some good frameworks to do that in. Right? Like that's the essence of it.
yeah.
And then you get your freedom back. You get your sovereignty back. All of a sudden, no matter where I was, I had me.
Mm,
I knew I had my own 2 feet. I think that's what manhood's all about. That this Joseph Campbell is one of
yeah.
my favorite teachers. He passed away, but from a lecture in the 50s, he was talking about specifically for men, our rituals have gone away. There's no more transitionary custom for a boy into man, where for thousands of years there was one.
Right.
And the essence of what it was for was when they came back, their opinion mattered.
Right.
They had stood on their own 2 feet. They had experienced life. They had this thing. And I think we need that back somehow. We have to have this thing that restores that to us where you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Think, use your mind now and think on purpose.
Mm,
Don't just believe anything. Learn how to filter things. Understand why they're saying it. There's a guy like his name's Nick Peterson. I was just in an event where he was doing a talk, and he says, whenever I'm listening to someone, there's one question I ask myself first: what currency are you trading in? Like,
mm,
what are you actually trying to do right now? Are you trying to is it attention, time, money, energy, impact? Like, what are you really trying to get at? That's your first filter always.
mm,
Once I learned, I was like, oh man, that's brilliant. That's a great way to say that. Where before you just take anything in, don't get in a hurry. Why are they saying what they're saying? Who's saying it? Does it matter? Would
Mm.
I, my, here's my thing I ask myself when someone's telling me something. Would I take your opinion on a restaurant? If
Mm.
I don't think you could tell me about good food, then I'm not listening to anything you have to say
Good
at
filter.
all.
Yeah.
At all. Like
Yeah.
that's weirdly for me, it's been 100% like right on every time. Like if I just don't think that you would give me good advice there, I'm not
Yeah.
listening to any advice anywhere else.
That's hilarious.
Um,
There's a bunch of skinny chefs out there that, you want a real hearty chef.
yeah, yeah, someone who's done it, been
Yeah,
there. You
exactly.
taste your own work, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a dig at the personal development world for a second. The techniques work no matter what. I do intentional personal development coaching for people. I've been engaged with it now for almost a decade of deep, deep work. From the outside in, if you only apply them from the outside in, they will work. They won't do what they're really capable of doing, but they will make your life better. You'll
Mm.
wake up each day, you'll make your bed, you'll make a little more money, you'll do this, you'll do that. You will have this sense of, oh, things are all right
Mm.
until really hard hits again. And only the kind of hard that life can bring. And it only does it a few times a decade where it just fucking brings it then.
Mm.
Right then, when you get cracked open to your core and that soul inside of you is exposed, now we know who you are.
Mm.
And that's where I ask people when I deal with them in the state, are you seeking relief or are you seeking release?
Mm.
Those are two completely
So
different
good.
things.
So
One
good.
will lead to healing, one is going to trap you in
Right.
just this same cycle again.
Right.
You're just
Right.
escaping hard too soon. Like you're not willing to stand underneath it. Another Bible verse, when you have done all to stand, stand. Like
Right. That's right.
when doing it, just realize that it's not
It's good.
it's just what's happening. It happens to all of us. It rains on the just and the unjust, right? When
Yes.
you That's where when I go back and look at the Bible, and I've been reading it more recently, just to specifically, I've been looking at what Jesus is accredited with saying, or some
Yeah.
just some ideas I was bouncing around. Um, there is massive amounts of truth in it.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is there are these nuggets that in the book I just wrote, I talk about it. My soul fed upon these nuggets of truth. It was just buying this other story. When I pulled that away, the story, and I just looked at what it was for what it really was,
Mm.
it is a tremendous ancient book of wisdom.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
it's the fact that we have it in the world, like it just got wrapped up in religion. Like look at the fact that we have this book that's almost 1700 years old in its earliest forms. Y'all, we have it. Quit telling us what it is and let's look at what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Let's see it for who wrote it. What would they have been going through? Why would they have done that?
Right.
Right? It's I'm obsessed with treasure hunting shows.
Mm.
Mysteries at Blind Frog Ranch is like one of my favorite ones that's on HBO. But they just use science. They ask this question like, oh, is this the Aztec gold? And then they bring in scientists that actually explain, oh, this and this and this. And it's like,
Mm.
there's the balance that we need. There's this concept of there's this thing,
Yeah.
and then here's some ways to explain it so that we don't just, oh, this is it, we're moving forward. Right.
Mm.
That is it,
Yeah.
it's there's a group I'm in, we call it it's a particular technique that we call open loops.
Mm.
Humans, we just want to know. We just want to close the loop and be certain about something and keep moving. The skill's keeping them open.
Hmm.
Don't become certain.
That's so
Leave the loop open so that you can get more information. Data changes every day.
yes.
You've never been as old as you are right now, right? Like as a parent with an 11 and a 9-year-old today, I have never been a parent to an 11 and a 9-year-old that are this version of 11 and
Yes.
9
Yes.
today.
Right.
It's brand new. If I go into it thinking I got it all and know everything, doomed for failure. Now
Right.
I'm just creating a filter to see life through
Mm.
that's going to it's going to come down because that's just how it works.
Right. Right. Bro, it's fun to have the freedom to talk about all these things, right? Like I remember, and I didn't know we talked so much about religion, but it is interesting because I think everyone's in a religion. It could be the religion of atheism, it could be the religion of actual organized religions, it could be the religion of new age, it could be the religion of self-development, it could be the religion if it has a you have to submit to these ideas or you're not part of this system or you're out. That's a religion. It could be the religion of big pharma and big medicine and big government. It could be the religion of whatever. And what my desire, you're talking about what currency people are trading in. I'm like, man, what currency do I trade in? It's a great question. And I'm like, man, I am motivated by impact. I think there's this we're all trying to, I think, free ourselves or, there everything that's external in service to others. There is something I think and maybe it's just me, of trying to align the truth of me with the truth of my purpose in this world and how that benefits others. And it is interesting that some people are so blind to the internal that they're only looking external, like you're saying, the outside in. And then they get validation maybe for who they are by how they're able to manipulate, coerce, or convince others. I don't know. It's just a fascinating observation. And we're talking so much about outside this podcast, but you mentioned it, to be a good human. How do we be a good human? And the word human, light, hue, light, man, a species that brings forth light into the world, but has been co-opted to bring so much darkness into the world. Um, it's just fascinating observation. And we are the ones that not just you and I, but so many others are, I believe, bringing this message of reclamation of one's own sovereignty. And it's so interesting, I'm thinking about like verse like God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace into the lowly. And it's like, man, to stay lowly also enables us to be controlled by a force greater than us, as opposed to like stand, having done all to
Mhm.
stand. Is that a lowly person who says, I'm going to stand? You're not going to, my knees was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego lowly when they're like,
Right.
no, I'm fucking putting my knee on this ground. I don't care. We'll live or die. We're not going to bow to you. It's just interesting that a lot of these narratives keep people playing so small, but then aspire for so big. Bruno seeing everything so much bigger and the church saying, no, you have to keep being
Got to
small.
be small.
Yeah.
It is, man. It's fascinating because it's with I think there's an interchangeable word, not completely, but religion and belief system, right? Like this thing that you're holding on to, what you believe about what you believe.
Yeah.
Like in essence, that is where we're all truly different, even if we share some same ideas.
Right.
And in that, in this journey, looking at these, man, I was thinking about something a second ago. I got chill bumps thinking about it, and then it went away. Of of
Religion versus belief systems, and people get caught up in their belief systems and
Yeah, it came to me while we were talking about where you're fascinated by currencies because there's six of them I use:
hmm,
attention, time, impact or influence, money, energy, and relationships. In this group, I'm going to call it a timer. And it's where we always know what I'm trading in so that I know who to work with, right? You want true alignment in life. Dr. Jeff Spencer has this thing called the exponential potential puzzle. Oh, it's coming back to me now,
cool.
where you were talking about how to be a good human.
Yeah.
I think that's an existential question. I ask it this way: how do you be good at being human? Right?
Mm,
There's a skill to it. Good's a weird definition where now morality is involved, and I don't want to talk about morality.
yeah.
How do you be good at being this species? Well, when you know what
That's great.
currencies
Great.
you're trading in, if I know I need money, right? I need to make some money in life. So I'm meeting people and you're looking for alignment. So in the exponential, I have it drawn here. Um, this right here, this bottom piece. So this is a completed exponential potential puzzle.
Mm,
However, we live in this process. Most people in life are living at 80 to 90% of their potential.
mm,
What we're looking for is alignment. When this one thing locks in, all of a sudden, boom, what you are
that's
able to
cool.
do
That's
just
cool.
goes. He's 75 years old and he hit us with this bad news. He said, this piece will come undone over and over and over again. That is the skill of living. When your alignment, and I've experienced it multiple
Wow.
times in life,
Wow.
Life naturally brings this thing that misaligns, and then it's really important. What currency do I need? What is it that I need? And then you do not look for people who need the same one.
Wow.
If I need money and you need money, we're not going to work well together because we'll both feel like we're losing a little bit,
Mm,
right? Like we both need money. So if I make 50 grand and you make 60 grand, I'm a little pissed,
mm,
right? Like there's this nature
yeah.
to it
Yeah.
where like one thing I love about coaching is it's something I do trade for money, but the people that what they need is not money.
Mm,
They need their energy back.
yeah. Yeah.
They need their attention back. Like they need something else. Money's
Yeah.
not their problem. Perfect. I can trade what I know for your money. You get what I know. We both feel like we're living like thieves, man. Like both of us are
Amazing.
happy. And it's
Amazing.
this really good way of am I misaligned? What's out of line? Who can realign it? Because it's always a who problem.
Mm,
Unless we can dig in a little more on that. Like you got to make sure you're doing well, not getting in your own way, and then it's always a who problem.
yeah.
So that who do I need that I can make this trade with? Where boom, we both go, and
Mm,
it's powerful, man. Because we need it everywhere. It's not just money, right? It's just one of the reasons I love our relationship. It
yeah.
gives massive amounts of energy.
Yeah.
And the last one, relationships are so important in life. It's a
Yeah.
major currency to me. So some days I talk to you, I don't feel so great. And what we're seeking is relationship. You charge me with energy, traded
Yep.
relationships for
And vice
energy.
versa.
Deal,
Vice
right?
versa.
Like it's like
Yeah.
just this constant thing of, oh, I can just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Again, back into the people using personal development to sabotage themselves, right? Like it will work. You will actually get what you think you want, but
Yeah.
you better know what you want.
Mm,
And the first thing you need to want is to be good at being human. Like
mm,
use this on purpose. It's very unique what you have available to you. The
so,
fact that you're a human, you beat 1 in 400 trillion odds, right? It is not normal, right?
yeah.
Use it. Let's use it. I think that's the next big jump for humanity is more people seeing the idea of, oh my God, I
Mm,
am one of these.
yeah.
I can do these things. I can go do this in a way that restores my sovereignty. I have
Yes.
power over myself.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden a
Yeah.
bunch of people stand up, right? I feel like the world's just sitting down and there's only a few people out there yelling.
Yep.
And the only reason we're listening is because they're just fucking yelling,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Now more people are able to come up and say calmly, I don't want to yell at you.
Yeah.
One, look at my life.
Yep.
This is proof of what I'm saying.
Yep.
I am as happy as I can be. If I died today, I do feel like I've lived.
Mm,
Okay. Do I want to? No. No
right.
desire to die at any point in the near future.
Right.
However, that is like a metric to me of, dude, you got to face it. It could happen. Every day it could happen. Do you feel like you've lived? If you don't, we got some work to do.
Right. That's
We
right.
just got some work to do. And let's understand what will make you feel like you've lived.
Mm,
Is another thing in that group I'm in that we talk about. It's called the Club for Small Business and Real Estate, where we call your solvable problem. What are you trying to get closer to?
mm,
It's not about more. We can all do more, but what am I actually trying to get closer to?
yeah.
For me, that's a daily life. There's a certain way I want to live each day, where as long as I create a life that lets me do that, I'm getting closer to what I want. It's
Mm,
not particularly so much all about what I'm doing all the time. It's I want to play golf 2 times a week. So
yeah.
I create a life that lets me go do that or work towards what I want to do. I want to travel this amount. I want to do big things this way. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, which one? And then it's slow.
Yeah.
Each day's practice for the next. You're gonna get another chance unless you're dead, then it don't matter. Right?
Right.
Like
Right.
that is truly the heart you take into it. This is okay. I'm supposed to fail. It's
Mm,
something I'm working on with my 9-year-old right now.
mm,
He does not take failure well. He just feels like the moment he misses a math problem, he's falling apart. If he drops the football in the yard, falling apart. And he just has this idea that, Dad, I just got to be perfect. If I'm not doing it right, I'm not doing it perfect. And I challenged him. I said, well, if that's true, then you never would have learned to walk.
mm,
I said, son, I watched you fall and fall and fall and fall. And guess what? You didn't do this.
Right.
unless you like hit your head with something when you fell down.
Mhm.
And you just kept trying. And now you don't even think about walking. And you just kind of sitting there like, whoa, okay. A lot of it went over his head. It's a 9-year-old, but
Yeah,
really
yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to show him, because what I'm trying to show him is, look, dude, here is perfection is this. You push whatever you have to failure, reflect, do it again.
Mm.
Reflect, do it again. Failure is perfection. It is perfection. It's
Right.
what everything's doing. It's what the universe is doing. It
Mm.
gets to a point, it breaks down, it redoes it. It in itself, it is perfection. That does not feel good to believe. But
Right.
to push a system, like think about working out. If you work out to failure,
Right.
you can't lift anything. Come back 2 days later and you can lift about 3 pounds more.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
That is the point. Break it,
Mm.
fix it. Break it, fix it. Now, how you go about breaking it, super important. Is
Right.
you can destroy your life breaking it.
Right.
Start to realize, one, it's a much slower process. There's a math problem I stress people out with, um, of what day is it really, right?
Mm.
It's not Saturday. If you have some freedom in math, it's 13.8 billion times 365, right? We'll skip leap years and all that. You're on day 5 trillion and something.
Mm.
This thing is brand new. It's never happened before. Just because we call it Saturday doesn't fucking matter. It
Right.
has never existed. All around the universe, there are things breaking and forming. Like, the perfection is everywhere. And it's even going on in your life.
Mm.
You are the universe. You are this thing. We're made up of the stuff in it. Don't get so upset when it's breaking. If you pushed it and you're trying and it breaks, smile a little bit,
Mm.
right? You got to kind of be a masochist some to enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never not done something because it might hurt. I'll do it again if it didn't hurt too bad the first time, right?
Yeah.
Like, pain
Yeah.
was never a deterrent for me. And I think everybody should just adopt a little bit of it. You don't have to go bull riding and do crazy shit like I used to do,
Yeah.
but understand it is supposed to sting. It's why it feels good later.
Mm.
That without the sting, it doesn't feel good. Now it's just blah.
That's good.
And we've been saying that for so long. That's what I love about what humanity's onto. This ain't new stuff, y'all.
Right. Right.
What's new is how we say it each generation. How
Mm.
do I say a truth in a way that it'll matter to y'all? Because
Yeah.
that's all that matters. That's it. Like, if we're going to perpetuate truth, we got to say it in a way where it matters to people, where they'll actually hear what we're saying. That's why I believe, as a professional speaker, stories are so powerful.
Mm.
Like, even telling my son about walking, I want to associate that story to his life forever. I will tell it to him 100 times.
Yeah.
Because most often we need reminded, not learn something new.
So good. So, brother, I'm really thankful we met. I'm thankful that people are getting to hear you more, and your impact and platform is growing, because what I believe the world is about to enter, they're going to need people like you and many others who have gone through the fire already, and everything's deconstructed to rebuild, as I think many are going to walk into the deconstruction, and we're going to be the ones standing and saying it's okay. The sting of
Yeah.
battle is okay. It's how you learn. It's how you advance. How as we wrap here, and I want to do many more, and we'll talk next time, about how to be a good human doer and all the things that we're going to be doing. But I think your coaching is incredibly important. I know you've made a massive impact in a lot of people's lives. How can people connect with you, and what type of coaching do you support people with?
Yeah, so I do intentional personal development coaching. We're going to dig into the inside,
Mm.
where I need you to know why you are the way you are and all the ways you are.
Mm.
That is what we're hammering down on. Because once we have that, now the real you showing up to your life daily. That's where we're going to dig in.
Dude, I
If
love
you
it.
want to get a hold of me, I'm really active on Facebook. I'll make sure you have my links. And I have a website called thecollectiveflow.com where you can read a bunch of stuff I wrote. You can book a meeting on there. I have a discovery call. We'll talk. I really check vibes. Like, if we're going to mix, awesome. Because I trade in relationships, I go meet other people you might need.
Yeah.
So if it's not me, I actually care about you. That's the
Mm.
secret. I actually care.
Beautiful.
Who can I connect you with?
Beautiful.
So that's our essence.
Good. It's beautiful. Man, I love you, brother. Thank you. Thanks
Love you too,
for
man.
and we're just gonna have more fun.
Heck yeah.
That's what's ahead. That's what's
It
ahead.
is ahead. Sometimes fun is hard, but that doesn't mean it's not bad,
That's right.
right? Like that's again this it's why I wake up each day.
Mm,
It's man, is you get a chance. So
yeah.
you're telling me I get a chance. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And
Tell
beautiful,
me
man.
there's a chance.
This is so
Oh,
if
that's so good.
Jim Carrey is one of my favorite human beings alive. I had a custom sculpture made of him that doesn't
Oh,
look like
that's
him,
cool.
but I wanted one. They only had him of him in character. And I
Oh,
didn't want a character. I wanted like the guy.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I had that. I know actually a company I used to work for. I said I wanted it and they had one order for me.
Dude, that's
So
cool.
she's in the back there. Yeah.
He is a deep soul that is
Yeah.
on quite a journey. So
It
yeah.
is, man. I'm an energy person, so I can feel the energy around me and through different mediums. And his vibration is so good.
Yeah.
It has this essence to it that I love.
Yeah.
And he
Rich.
was a hero of mine as a kid. He was one of the few people that could make me laugh the way I
Mhm.
could laugh as a kid. And like laughing is freedom. If you
Yeah.
can't laugh if you're not internally free, right? Really just laugh.
That's right.
And oh man, those beautiful moments for sure.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, brother, for coming on. I love you.
Love you too, man.
Well, brother, thank you for coming on. Everyone, I'll put Micah's links in the show notes, so make sure you check that out. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for, this podcast is over 7 years old now, and it's been such a blessing to have you come alongside. And I know the episodes have been less frequent in the past few years. It's been going through a lot, but I'm coming out of it, and really excited for what we're going to build together as a community and as individuals in this world in 2025, 2026, and beyond. Everyone, I'm Lucas Mack. Thank you for joining. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast, send it to someone you think would make an impact in their lives. And it's such a pleasure having you. I am Lucas Mack, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Thank you for listening. If you're struggling to break free and need support, go to my website at lucasmack.com. There you'll find resources like videos and ebooks, and also information on how to work with me for coaching. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.